Okay, so we're learning the basic English. Yeshua, finish suicide. And Fushleim, feel massive inside. So we're holding Daf Ayin Zayin Amid Beis. And it's 10 lines from the bottom, 9 lines from the bottom. Towards the end of the line, it says, Yochel Yavirenu B'sichon. Talking about the spring of water that emanates from the Beis HaMikdash, from the Kodesh HaKodashim. And that Yecheskel was describing it, that at the beginning it was up to his ankles, then it was up to his waist, and then it's until he can't pass by it. And we said that we're not let it go in water that's above the waist. And what are you saying over here, that you're allowed to go through water on Yom Kippur? We said it depends if the water is rushing or not. That was how we got into this. Over there in Yecheskel, it says that this water is going to continue and it's going to become a big stream, and the trees on the side are going to all give healing. And okay, Yochel Yavren B'sichon, maybe you could swim through it. Through this stream that's emanating from the Beis HaMikdash. Talmud Leimer ki go hamayim meishachol. The water swelled, waters of Sachel. My meishachol, what does this mean, Sachel? Siyuta. Means that it's a float or a boat. She can't share on the site of the Saicha, because they call this boat a Saicha. So meishachol means that it's a boat. Not for, you can't swim through it, you could take a boat. Maybe you could take a small boat through it. Talmud Leimer by Telech by Anisayat. Baal Telech by Anisayat. Anisayat. You have the vowels on the side? That you can't take a boat through it. Yochel Yavren Burn Gedelim, you could take a large boat through it. Talmud Leimer Vitsi Adir Lo Yavrenu. Apparently that means that you can't take a large boat through it. So my mashma, where do you see the shayat? This transcending as a boat. Yeah. My mashma, how do you see this? It says so Vitzi was I guess shortened for Tzayadin, which means fishermen, or nets. The fisherman's boat can't make it through it. Borni Rabasi Loi to Goizena, and the large boat can't cross it. Amrav Yehuda ben Paziach Malach Hamabasim L'Rishaslav B'Sechet. Even the angel of death can't cross over. Ksiv HaChabal Telech by Anisayat. That it can't go into it, this boat, or something that floats. Ksiv Hasam. And the big side is really warm. You left the word is ani, like anias, like a boat. Ani Sayan. No, it's Ani Sayan. Shayat. Shayat. What's the word before it? Is it Ani or Ani? This is Ani as in a boat. Ania. Uh-huh. So the boat that floats. That he floats around the earth. That was the Malach HaMavos in Satan in Eiv. He was going to go around. Amar Pinchas Mishum Rav Huna Sepira Mayan Hayetzim Beis Kachei Kadashim B'Tfilah Daim L'Kanich Hagavim. This Pinchas said the name of Rav Huna Sepira. The spring that emanates from the Kodesh HaKodashim originally starts off as wings of antennas of grasshoppers. It's very a little trickle. And by the time it reaches the entrance of the chamber, it's already the size of the ropes of the loom. Once it reaches the hallway, now it's already the size of the other part of the loom that goes through, which is a little thicker. Once it reaches the entrance of the courtyard, it's the size of the opening of a jug.
I think they were coastal tunnels back in those days too.
Yeah, with the what? It's trickling water.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they make a big deal.
Yes, it's not on top. You can look at the Lawrence if you want.
I'm not sure. But that's why when they, every once in a while, they come up, they say, there's water that's trickling from in the tunnels and this, right? And the excitement comes from these psukim. I know the Tanan.
Diagram that's made doesn't show
Right. Because this is a future picture. This is when Mashiach comes, this water is going to come out of the Beit HaMikdash. It's going to have all the healing properties, and the leaves are going to be medicinal. Right? Behind the Tanan, and this is what it says. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Eimer Mayim Mefachim Asidim Liyasyotzi Mitachas Miftan Abayas. Mefachim, it sounds like bubbling water.
Before that, just when the kind of was allowed to go over or not.
We were talking about going through water to reach to greet a teacher on Yom Kippur, and then we asked the question, what about the teacher greeting the student? But in this discussion, we quoted a pasuk from Yechezkel that seems to say that you can't go into water that's rushing.
Where is the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur next to the river that's rushing water?
No, okay, so there's no Kohen Gadol, just on Yom Kippur uses a mikveh.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. This is a futuristic future prophecy. Yeah.
What kind of water creates problems?
Right. Right. It was carrying. Right. Right. Yeah. And also the problem was washing. Okay. So Elazar ben Yaakov Eimer Mayim Mefachim Asidim Liyasyotzi Mitachas Miftan Abayas, that this bubbling water is going to come out, or it gets translated as Mefachim, is like a pach. That's the association here. A jug. It means it's going to be the size, the amount of water that's the size of the opening of a jug. And from then it's going to continue to swell until it reaches the entrance of Kever David. How far is that? Is it? I was in the they take you in the, you get wet. Huh? In the tunnel, yeah. Once it reaches there, then it's already a stream that's rushing. That in there they can bathe Zavin Zavis, the impure men and women, and Anita, a woman that's menstruating, the oldest, a woman that gave birth. On that day, there'll be a entrance to those that dwell in Yerushalayim for these impure people. Now, apparently this is saying that the depth, you have to go in water that can cover the person. But we're saying that has to cover the person while she's standing up. It has to go up to her neck. So, but that's not true. That we don't pass them like that. It doesn't have to be. A mikveh could be flat. You just have to be able to. Has to have an amount of water that can cover you laying down. We don't really do that, but it's still kosher, right? We don't make a mikveh that's just like a bathtub that you have to lay down to cover. Oh, it's ever shop mikveh. It's like that. You have to lay down. So that would be kosher because we stay over here. We don't pass like Rabbi Yosef.
What about the customer?
It doesn't have to be.
Maybe understand.
It doesn't have to be high that it goes up to her neck. Right. You see this Tosfos? Mikan Remes. Shalom Kamir of Yudagoyin. Tfilas Nida made the Raisa Minalan. How do you know that a Nida needs to go to the mikveh? It says it's a Kal V'chomer. But the Tam says that we learned from the pasuk Mei Nida. So interesting. Such a basic concept, and it comes from like this. Okay. We're discussing going through water. Now, there's a problem with going through water because if you're wearing shoes, we had several issues. One of them was lifting up the clothing, that it's considered carrying. We discussed if it's considered bathing. We said it's not. But there's another problem, that if you're wearing shoes, you may remove the shoes and carry them. So in Kippur, we don't have that issue because you don't wear shoes. But Shabbos, the Kamino, what about on Shabbos? On Shabbos, when they're wearing shoes, are you allowed to walk through water, through a stream of water? Someone may take off his shoes. Wearing Crocs, you're fine. But otherwise, someone may remove the shoes, especially if they had a cloth in them, they would get heavy, and you would take them off. Amr Nehemiah Chasnei the Bein Nesiah. Nehemiah, the son-in-law of the Bein Nesiah, I guess the descendant of Rabbi Danasi. Anachazise l'Rabami, it's probably Rabbi Huda Nesiah or something. Yeah. I saw Rabami Barabasi Dematu or Kuma, that they went through a pool. Arkuma Demaya. Dematu Arkuma Demaya. They went through a pool. And they worked while they were wearing their clothing. Apparently the shoes as well. Teinach Minal. Okay, so a shoe, maybe that's fine. But sandal Mayikal Maimer, what about a sandal? A sandal is easier to remove. I think a sandal didn't have a back. So Amar Rav Rechumi Anachazisa Ravina Davar Derech Malbush. I saw that Ravina went through while he was wearing a sandal. It's not a problem that he may carry it. Rav Ashi Amar Sandal Lechatchila Lai. Rashi says Lechatchila you can't wear a sandal through the water. You may carry it.
Because you can carry it easier.
It's easier to carry. That's why you can't wear it.
As a rule.
It's a gzeira that you may end up carrying it. In other words, they look at what people would do, and they said, "Don't do this." People may end up doing that
Because they would technically do it, so they say,
Right.
Don't.
Right. Reish Galusa Iklala Agrunya Lebei Reb Nassim. The Reish Galusa ends up happens to be in Agrunya, and he's in the house of Reb Nassim. Rafram Bekula Rabbana Nasul Pirka. Well, Rafram and all the rabbis come to his drasha. Ravina Layasa. Ravina doesn't come. Lamachar by Rafram Lafuki Ravina Midaiti Derish Galusa. The following day, Rafram wants to make sure that Ravina is not in bad favor from the Reish Galusa. He wants to make sure the Reish Galusa is not angry at Ravina. So Amalei, he asks Ravina, my time Pirka, why didn't you come to the lecture? Amalei Habikoivli Kari, he says, my feet were hurting. My legs. Yeah, but it's legs. The lower leg. So wear shoes. It says Gaba the Karahaba was the back of my foot, and that like the heel, the ankle. and that would hurt the shoe if there's a sore on the back. You buy sandala. So put on sandals. There's no back. What do they call clogs? That's what they had, right? With wooden clogs. Amalei, Urka the Maya Borcha, there was a pool of water on the way. That's why he couldn't come because he couldn't wear sandals through the puddle, through the pool. So 1 second. Well, he didn't want to wear regular shoes because it would hurt his feet. So regular shoes would have been fine to wear through the water. But there's a problem there. So he says, so why don't you put them on and wear them? Don't you hold a Ravashi that says you can't wear it? Well, there's a little bit of a problem if you're following the names here. Amar Rav from the Rechumi before, Anach Chazise l'Ravina the Avar derech Malbush. Rav Rechumi saw Ravina that he was wearing it through the water. Now Ravina is excusing himself why he doesn't come to the drasha. So you don't hold a Ravashi, which is the opposite opinion. He doesn't hold. Ravina himself doesn't hold a Ravashi. Yeah, what's the answer? There's a few possible answers. One is that there's two Ravinas. Ravina reversed Ravina the second. Another one is that he's just giving an excuse. He doesn't want him to be angry at him. Or a good answer could be that he heard what Ravashi says and he changed. After he heard Ravashi's opinion, he decided to follow Ravashi. Tani Yehuda bar Grace says, you can't sit on damp clay on Yom Kippur. You know, like they have like these mud baths or whatever, supposed to be healing minerals. You can't sit on this. This is like bathing or washing. Or that's talking about if the clay is so wet that it's dripping. It has to be tefech. It has to be dripping in a way that the thing that it makes wet could make something else wet. Like if you put a cloth on it and then you touch the cloth, then you'll get wet from that cloth. There has to be that wet. Rav Yehuda mutal itztanim Paris. Rav Yehuda says that you can cool off. See, all of this to us is like, well, we have air conditioning, so what's the big deal? But in Shul, there's air conditioning. But in those days, there's no air conditioning. Before Florida, right? Florida was only built up on air conditioning. Before air conditioning, and you couldn't bathe, so you just get hot. And you wanted to cool up. What can you use to cool up? So you would take something that's moist. That was probably a little cooler. But now we're learning that things that are moist are a problem. So Rabbi Yehuda says, well, you can cool off with fruits. Yeah. An apple sometimes has a natural, like a little chill, something. Rabbi Yehuda mitzdan and bikra. Rabbi Yehuda would cool off with a gourd, pumpkin. Rava mitzdan and biyanuka. He switches the buff. And Rava mitzdan b'kisi the kaspa. Rava would use a child. The child is, the temperature is a little lower, I guess. There's another pshat over here that maybe means a branch. And then there's another pshat from the Rashash. Yeah, a branch. And Rabbi used a silver cup, which also has a little chill to it. Amar Rav Papa, kisa the kaspa malay aser. Rav Papa says if it's full of water or full of something liquid, it's a problem. Why? Because it's going to spill. If it's going to spill on you, they used to on a tie, you get a stain. It makes it's like it's finished. The silk, it's like you can't get it out. But if you put the seltzer on, it's right away. So the seltzer somehow, I don't know, that's what they would say. It could make it less. So, but on Shabbos, you're not allowed to put the is fill up a cup of seltzer like very much. And you, it's on a tie,
Yeah.
a silk tie, and it gets a stain because it's silk. So, so by mistake I spilled this seltzer, but yeah, you also filled it up to the brim, and you carried it, like so. Okay, you can't fill up a cup of water like to the top, and then say that it's not going to spill on you. Chaser is shari. If it's not filled to the top, that's fine. The fachra, but if it's made out of ceramic, then you have a problem because it's porous and it could seep through, and then you're getting the moisture on the outside. Rav Papa, or maybe it's Ravashi, Amar, Kisa de Kaspa Chaser Nami Aser. Even a silver cup is also a problem, even if it's not filled to the top. Because it could slip. Yeah, and it will spill. Zira bar Chama, Ishpazichne de Rabami Rabasi Rabishub and Levi Kula Rabban in the Kisri Haba. Ziri bar Chama, he was the host of all of these rabbis, Rabami, Rabasi, Bishub and Levi, all the rabbis of Caesarea. And Amalei Rav Yosef braided Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. He tells to Rabbi Yosef, the son of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. He was the host of his father. He's talking to the son now. He says, Bar Uriah, son of a lion. Ta come, I want to tell you about things that your father did. He had a cloth that on Erev Yom Kippur, he would soak it in water. But he says to come in and then he would let it dry out. The following day, he would wipe his hands and face and feet. It was like a little bit damp. It's dried already on the outside, but it was still like cooler. Erev Tisha B'Av, and Erev Tisha B'Av, he would soak it in water. And the following day, he would move it over his eyes. No, but here it doesn't say that he let it dry out. It doesn't. It leaves out that detail. It could have been a little more wet for the Yom Kippur one. For the Tisha B'Av, right? It's a whole shaila. Remember last time I was in Big Life, which was many years ago. But they were on the front table where they have the new Svarim, Big Life, Svarim stuff, in Borough Park. So they had put the new Svarim on the front table. So there was a fat sefer about baby wipes on Shabbos. Are you allowed to use the baby wipes because of squeezing? Anyway. I didn't buy it. It's an important question, but I'm not going to read it. Yeah. Right. Oh. They use a fan with wet cloths. No, that's what they do in the hot places. They hang up like sheets, like on a clothesline, and then they put a fan in it. It's supposed to make the cooler. I forget which one of the scientists. I forget Faraday. Right, it's a Michael Faraday was a scientist. He claimed to the King of England or something that he could get the room cool, also with ice cubes, and I don't know how they got ice cubes, but in fans. So, yeah. Wow. Be dangerous. Okay. Sorry. So yeah, and the homes aren't built for it. That's the problem. They're expecting air conditioning. They're built for air conditioning, not
For heating.
and for heating, right?
Yeah. That's cool.
So, v'chein kiyasa Rabba bar Mari Amar. I'm supposed to drop the v'chein. When Rabba bar Mari came, he said, "The erev Tisha B'av mevi'in leid mitpachas." On erev Tisha B'av, they brought him a cloth. B'shayser b'mayim, soaked in water. Minichatach smer shayser. He put it under his pillow. L'macher mekanech panav yad v'raglav. And the following day, he would wipe his face with it, face, hands, and feet. Erev Yom Kippur mevi'in leid mitpachas. And Erev Yom Kippur, they'd bring him a cloth. B'shayser b'mayim, they would soak it. V'yisayser come and kill him in the guvim, they would let it dry out. L'macher mavir al gabi einav, and then he would use it the following day. So both of these are saying that the Yom Kippur was a little more strict and it would allow it to dry out. Amalei Rav Yaakov Rav Yirmiyah bar Tachlifa Yipcha Amritlan. You told us the opposite. The opposite means that on Tisha B'av he would let it dry out, and on Yom Kippur you didn't say that he would let it dry out. And Vaisivnach Schita, and we asked you that there's a problem of Schita because on Tisha B'av you're allowed to squeeze, but on Yom Kippur you're not. Okay, that's the end of that. Amar Rab Menashe bar Tachlifa, Amar Rab Amram, Amar Rabba bar Barchana. Shalom es Rabbi Lazar. Rab Menashe bar Tachlifa says the name of Rab Amram in the name of Rabbi Barchana that they asked Rabbi Lazar, which is Rabbi Lazar ben Fidas. This is the Amoira Rabbi Lazar. Zakin v'yeshiv v'yeshiva tzarech litel rishus lahat b'cher sein tzarech. If there's an elder that's sitting in yeshiva, probably means yeshiva in the Sanhedrin. He's a member of the Sanhedrin. And the rule is that a firstborn animal is officially a karban. Bachar. A bachar b'machzor, that's what's a karban. But if it gets a mum, it gets a blemish, then it's a gift to the kohen. And the kohen can eat it without bringing it as a sacrifice. Nowadays, if it would be a bachar that would have a mum, would be permissible because it's right now. They made a rule that what's considered a mum. So you have to go show it to a chacham. See, is it really considered a mum? It can't be a temporary mum. It has to be a real mum. So what they said was that you have to ask permission from the Reish Galusa or from the head of the Sanhedrin if you're allowed to be matir b'chayrus. There was a Gemara with Rav. Rav was moving back to Bavel. So Rab Chia asks Reb Yudah Nasi, can Rav paskin Yaira? He says Yaira. He says Yaira. He says Yadin. He says Yadin. That's the expression Yaira Yaira. That's a question, and Rabbi said, yeah. Yadin, Yadin. Yatir b'chayrus, he says no. Didn't allow Rav to be matir b'chayrus. The Gemara says, I think Rav had too many chidushim in b'chayrus, people would be surprised. Because he spent 18 months by a farmer and he had all of these novel approaches. So, and also, I think the Gemara says because Rabba Barchana was there and you want to take that away from him. Not Rabba Bar Barchana, was Rabba Barchana, was his father. So here we're asking, let's say he's a member of the Sanhedrin, does he need permission to be allowed to, does he need a special smicha, permission to be allowed to do this? Apparently he knows the halachas. Can he do it without permission? Maikami Bailu. What's the shaila? Tachikami Bailu. This is the shaila. Yihad the Amar Rabidi Barabin Davar Zainichalam Lebeis Nasiya Kadei Leskader by Tzarech Litel Rishas. Aidil Makiv Dazakim Beishiv Shiva Ein Tzarech. Is this a way of building up the prestige of the base of the Beit Nasiya, of the Nasi's house? That no one's allowed to do this without permission? Or is once you know the halachas, is it totally permissible? Amar Rab Tzaddik ben Chalukah al Ragla v'Amar. Rab Tzaddik ben Chalukah. I'm not familiar with him. he stood up and he said, "Ani reisias Rabbi Yossi ben Zimra." I saw Rabbi Yossi ben Zimra. Shizakin Yossi b'Shiva. He was a member of the Sanhedrin. V'amad b'mayla miziknei shel zeh. And he stood above, or he stood before, the grandfather of our Nassim today, probably Rabbi Yehuda Messiah, Benatul Rishus Latu B'Cheres. And he took permission. He asked for permission. You have to get permission. Amalei Rababa Lekacha Yemaisa. Rababa says that wasn't the story. Lekacha Yemaisa, the story was different.
Why were you like? What's the?
How do we get into this?
I mean,
Because we're about to say another question. Yeah, that's
so
it.
setting the stage.
Yeah. This is the background to another follow-up question. He had a different question. He was a Kayan. And his question was like this. Kayanim were not trusted to answer questions about Bechayos because they're biased. Because if it's a mum, then it belongs to them. Right? It's like the eye doctor that has a glasses store. You're going to walk out with a pair of glasses. That's the...
Like the site I saw facts.
That's right.
That's what you had this commercial. It's not
Interesting. It's interesting.
I just got done learning that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Make it a little later. Make it a little earlier. And when he goes to the mikvah on Yom Kippur, if it's later, it'll be colder. Right. Today, the whole world is crazy. There's no Havayamas Nederes, right? Okay. So, is the halach like a mayor? Because he was a kohen. He's asking, is he allowed to paskin not for himself, but for someone else? I get it for yourself. You can't paskin for your own animal. You say, oh, it's a mum, I can do it. But for someone else's animal, it's not going to anyway. But maybe there's still a bias there. So that's a machlekes Reb Meir and Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. So Reb Yossi ben Zimra's question was, who do we paskin like? Partially, halachic Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, they paskin leniently that he's allowed to. Then they had another question. This is a question that they're asking Rabbi Elazar ben Padas. Ma'al lotzis besandal shel sham. Cork. Are you allowed to use a cork shoe? Now, in Yom Kippur, we said you're not allowed to wear shoes. So what about a shoe that's not made out of leather? It's made out of cork. Is that what Rashi says? Yeah. So, yeah, I'm in the middle of making a mat out of cork. My kids took over, so I didn't have to do it. Like, basically, collecting corks and putting a needle through the cork and stringing it up, so it's like a mat. Very comfortable to step on. So, the little project. So, are you allowed to wear shoes that are made out of cork? You can float. Amad Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachmani al Raglav. Usually it's Shmuel bar Nachmani. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachmani stood up. Amar ani risias Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Yeshua ben Levi is an Amira, an early Amira that's in the Brises. He said, I saw Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Shiatza b'sandal shel sham b'yem kippurim. V'aminalei b'tainas tzibur mai. Amalei leishna. It says by a tainas tzibur, by a fast day that they make because there's a lack of rain, so they're not supposed to wear shoes. So what about on such a fast day? So he says it's the same thing. You're allowed to wear shoes. You're allowed to wear, basically for us, Crocs or sneakers that are not leather. wooden cork bottom soles. Amar Rabba bar Bachana Nirisius Rabbi Lazar the Ninve. No, I can't be. Is that Ninve? Ninve. Shiatsa b'sandal Sosham b'tainis Sibur. They really had Ninve. Ninve destroyed. Yeah.
What would be the problem?
Well, we said that you shouldn't wear shoes. The leather part never came in.
Is it a shoe?
Is it a shoe or is it leather?
The alternative being to go barefoot.
Right. Right. Do you have to go barefoot? So he went out with kind of tzibur with shoes of cork. What about Yom Kippur? Said it's no problem. Rabbi Yehuda Nafik did the hitni. Rabbi Yehuda went out with hitni. Hitni is a type of cork. Abaya Nafik did the hutzi. Abaya used shoes that were made out of palm. Oh. So it was a city that was that Masul. Rava Nafik b'divlei or b'dikulei. Divlei would be a grass, some sort of organic shoe. Yeah, someone's making money off that one. Organic shoes. Okay, Rabba bar Ravuna karich sudra akare v'nafik. Rabba bar Ravuna would wrap a cloth around his foot. If he wouldn't wear shoes, he would wear a cloth. You have to step on the ground. Masiv Rami bar Chama. Rami bar Chama has a question. Hakitea yetzer b'kavshalai. Hakitea is an amputee. He's missing a foot or a leg. The lower leg, probably. He's allowed to go with his kav. The kav is a prosthetic leg. It was wooden in those days. It did not look like a leg. But if with a pair of pants, it would look like a leg. What was that? Yeah. Divrei Reb Meir. So Reb Meir holds that he's allowed to use this. We're talking about on Shabbos. He's allowed to walk outside with his kav, with his prosthetic leg. Rabbi Yossi says no. He says it's not considered a shoe, and you're not allowed to wear it. It's not considered clothing. But they said that you're not allowed to wear it on Yom Kippur. Both agree that you can't wear it on Yom Kippur. Now, if you can't wear it on Yom Kippur, that's because you have to go barefoot on Yom Kippur. So what's going on over here that they're saying you can wear these other types of shoes? Abaya says over there it had sponge in it. It had torn clothes in it that made it comfortable, and that's the problem. Amalei Rava. Rava says what? We love manu ketitin mashvei mana. If it wasn't a keli, wasn't considered clothing according to Rabbi Yossi. So when you put cloths in it, it becomes clothing. Right. Right. That was the original question. Right. And you're not allowed to have pleasure on Yom Kippur. It's only certain restrictions. But a cloth on the end of a stub, right? The stub of his leg should not be a forbidden pleasure on Yom Kippur. And Rabbi Baravuna would put a cloth on his foot and go out. And if you read further, there's another problem. It says in Yeshla Beis Kibo, if this prosthetic leg has an indent, you see it was wood. Now wood, if it's solid or if it's flat, it's not tummy. It needs to be a receptacle to be tummy. Now if it goes in like this, which that's what I would imagine a prosthetic leg would have like an indent. So if it would have a place to put the cloths, to hold the cloths, like a receptacle, so then it would be tummy. Michlal. That's what it says at the end. But that implies the Reisha Labed is like Sisneskinan. That the first case was not talking about that it was able to hold cloths inside. So what are you telling me? It's cloth. There were no cloths there anyway. Really, it is considered a shoe. And there's a problem on Shabbos. The machlekes between Reb Yossi and Reb Meir was not if it's a shoe. It is a shoe. The question is, on Shabbos, is it a problem of carrying? So on Yom Kippur, it's a problem because it's a shoe. On Shabbos, it's a problem of carrying, not because Yom Kippur also has an issue. But the question is, are you allowed to wear it inside or whatever? But on Shabbos, you may take it off and carry it.
Why do you take it off and carry it?
Some of these, what happens is, these things are so uncomfortable that you take them off after a while.
You'd sit down and take it off.
It could be that he didn't use it for walking. He used the walking, he had crutches, or he had a chair with wheels. So, no, if you can't walk, then the wheelchair and the crutches become part of you, right?
But the foot doesn't?
The foot was there for cosmetic.
Oh, yeah, right. So, okay.
The foot is probably cosmetic. They didn't have it that you can bend it and you could use it. It could be it's cosmetic, but it was mostly cosmetic. That's what it seems.
Yeah, let's see what clothing limits and
Okay. Tanur Rabbanan started in the Brisa. Tinaikus Mutaram Bekulam. Everything that's prohibited on Yom Kippur for children, it's all permissible.
I was thinking, based on that, when they opened up the border or not, it's the water, whatever. It's one that's just bringing water to the
Right. So Tinaikus Mitar Mikol Chutz Minilas a sandal except for shoes. Shoes is also to put on the child on Yom Kippur. Ma'aser Nilas a sandal. Why Nilas a sandal? Why shoes is a problem? But bathing and eating and all of that is fine. Because they're going to say that there was an adult that put the shoes on. Right? Can you tie my shoes? So, but the other ones also, they're going to see that he was bathed. They're going to say that people did it for him. Or food, they're going to see him walking around with food. They'll say that people gave him. It's a problem. So the Gemara says like this: the fact that he looks like he had a bath and there's oil on his skin, that's what we'll say they put that on yesterday. So the Gemara says, well, maybe they put his shoes on yesterday and he slept with them. It could happen, right? The Gemara says sandal, so that's impossible. Someone wants to taste the flavor of death. You should put on the shoes and go to sleep. It's the Gemara is very against sleeping with shoes. So it's impossible that he was wearing shoes from yesterday. No, he would survive the night, but the parent would never, no one would suspect that a parent would do that because it's so uncomfortable to sleep with shoes. We have a problem. Problem is that it says Tinaikus mutarim bekulan. And that means that it doesn't have to do with yesterday. You're allowed to do all of these things today. Mutarim b'kulam means that if you want to know, are you allowed to? The answer is yes. The Gemara says, if it's not beneficial to the growth of the child, so then they made a decree, which is shoes is not beneficial. When it comes to bathing and oil and food, that the rabbis didn't make a decree for children. They're allowed to eat, bathe, and put on oil. Amar Abaya says, Amar Liam, Abaya's mother, it's really his, a nursemaid. The growth of a child, what makes him strong and grow, is warm water and oil. It means his baths. They grow in the bath. Gadol Porta, he gets a little older. It's his egg with kuta, which is a dip. Some yogurt, sour milk, salty dip. Gadol Porta Tvurimani gets a little older. He has to break vessels. Yeah. Kids like to break things. So, Kihad Rava, Zavin Leimani Gazize de Pachra, Livene Yamitrilo. Rabba would buy broken pottery and to let the kids break them. They would buy cracked pottery. It would be fun for them. Like today, you give the kids the bubble wrap.
New York, pay money, go in and you break things.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
what's on the boat here?
It's a massive plate and you go with that. And then for now, you can go into like a bunch of your energy out on that.
I can't imagine anyone doing it, but I can see someone getting someone for like a gift.
Yeah, okay.
We got you a pass to this place. 10 minutes. Okay, Hamelach. Let's finish to the bottom. Hamelach Bakala Yerchatzos B'neim. The king and a bride are allowed to wash their faces. Masnisin Mani, who's the author of a Mishnah of Pnina ben Chadin, it's Reb Pnina ben Chadin. The Tanya started in a brisa Melch Bakala. Lo Yerchatzos B'neim. The Tanakh says a king and a bride should not wash their face. And Rabbi Hanani ben Chadin, Yishum Rabbi Eliezer Melch Bakala Yerchatzos B'neim. That they are allowed to wash their face. We'll see why in a moment. A person that gave birth, the woman that gave birth, should not wear shoes. And Rabbi Hanani ben Chadin, Mishum Rabbi Eliezer Chayatin sandal. That she is allowed to. That's the night in the Mishnah. Right? In the Mishnah, did we say it was Rabbi Hanani ben Chadin? Who did we say argued? The Rabbi Eliezer. We said it was Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer, that's quoted by Rabbi Hanani ben Chadin. In the Mishnah, we said it was Rabbi Eliezer. And the Brisa, now it tells us that as it's quoted by Rabbi Hanani ben Chadin. My time, what's the reason for all of this? Melech mishum d'chsev melech b'yachim tachsan einecha. A melech, in his beauty, your eyes should gaze. Kala, my time, what's the reason for a bride? She shouldn't become disgusting to her husband. She should always look pretty. Amalei Rav Rav Chia Kala ad kama. Rav says to Rav Chia, how long is she a bride? Amalei Kedetanya started in a bride saying, "Meinin tachshitim nakala kol shleishim yom." He's talking about an unfortunate situation where one of the parents of the husband Kala passed away, and they were about to do the chuppah. So one of them is an aval, so that becomes problematic. So it says that they don't do the burial yet. They quickly do the wedding, and then they do it after, and then they do the burial later. So that's why they're not an aval by the wedding. So what about her putting on makeup and all of that? So it says, for 30 days she can put on makeup. This woman that gave birth is allowed to wear shoes because of the cold. If there is a concern of scorpions, then everyone is allowed to wear sandals. Okay, have a good day.